What's up, everybody? Straw Hats Are Cool here, and we are back again with another video. Before we get into today's video, as always, I do just want to say thank you so much to everyone who has been supporting me in the channel. Last week, or I guess this past week, we have reached and exceeded 2,000 subscribers, which is absolutely incredible. Definitely a milestone I've been looking forward to hitting, and I hope to be doing some more giveaways and whatnot to celebrate this milestone here pretty soon. So I hope you all look forward to that. Again, I do just want to say, really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all to everyone who's supporting the channel, commenting, liking the videos, all that. The video I posted last week, I think we got nearly 200 likes on that video and over 100 comments, which was incredible. I really do love getting to interact with you guys in the comments. It's always a lot of fun. So this one, let's try and do that again. But let's try and hit 200 likes on this video. It would really mean a lot to me. Again, thank you so much to everyone who's supporting the channel. I hope we can continue to grow and provide content for you all to enjoy. So we'll have links down in the comments for my Discord. Been having a lot of fun discussions in there. If you've been in the Discord or chatting with us in there, I'm sure you're aware that we've got a lot to talk about today. So again, link to the Discord will be down in the video description, as well as a link for my TCG player affiliate. Use that link down in the comments and buy something on TCG player. A small percentage of your purchase will go towards supporting me in the channel. So if you plan on buying any singles on TCG player or even sealed product, do consider using that affiliate link, which will be down in the video description. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the video. I'm going to try and talk a little faster for this one because there are some of you who in the comments who are enjoying the video but say I do talk a little slow or maybe ramble a bit, which I know is something I am guilty of. So try and get through this a little faster. I guess before we really dive in, I am going to be doing things a little different today. Just because there's been so many changes in the market, I am going to be looking at each set kind of as a whole, which is something I've been trying not to do because to me it feels a little lazy just looking at everything rather than picking specific cards that I think are worth talking about. So really, I'm still going to be talking about some specific cards, but we are going to be looking at the sets as a whole as well, just because this is probably the biggest, if not one, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest weeks for changes in the market. But we'll try and speed through our manga, since honestly at this point I'm not sure what to say about these cards, because as you can see here, starting off, we've got our manga Shanks, which is currently right around $3,000. Last week I want to say it was still under 2,000, right around 1,800 if I do recall correctly, and they are selling at this price. We've had quite a few sales in the last couple days for the manga Shanks, right around the $3,000 mark. And I keep saying, I think it's kind of stable around here. Maybe it'll come back down. At this point, I have no idea what's happening with these cards. It seems like they're going up $200 to $300, if not more, every couple of weeks. So absolutely absurd. Yep, definitely not picking this one up anytime soon. Same thing with Ace. Current listing for the cheapest one right now is at $3,000, which is more than the Shanks. But if you look here at the sales, this one still isn't selling above 2,000. Most expensive sale we had here was at 1,500. But again, it just seems like with these manga rares, every like 2 to 3 weeks, they're going up in price again. Someone's going to decide to bite the bullet and buy them. So really, we're just at the hands of the people with the money. Whatever people are willing to pay for the card is really where the market price for these cards is going to land. And I get, these cards, they should have their value, but I do think that things are getting a little bit absurd. I think I'll be doing a video here in the near future just talking about the general state of the game, which will include the state of the market. For Soga King, we're at $700 now. They're selling it at this price. Not a huge change on this one. I want to say this is about the same as it was last week, but at this point, with only 8 listings left, I wouldn't be surprised if by next week we're looking at $800 or $900 on this one. I mean, because again, look at the sales here. In the last week, we have had quite a few sales. These cards are getting purchased, and with only 8 listings left, we've got a couple. I mean, we got 2 at $700. Then we got a PSA at about 8, and then after that, we're just moving up to 8, 900, then $1,000. So I wouldn't be surprised if by next week we're looking at $850 on this one. That's my prediction, because these manga rares, they're just going up and up and up. For Sabo, definitely has really solidly exceeded Soga King at this point. We're looking at $900 on this one. Not selling quite at that price yet, but they are selling at $800 from what we can see here. More listings than the Soga King though, so it does give Soga King a chance to catch up there, as there are fewer listings, but definitely not surprised with this one. Obviously the mangas are more of collector cards, but for the crazy people out there who do want to bling out their decks, this is probably the most playable of the manga rares, as it does see play in almost every black deck right now, and will continue to see play in most black decks moving into set 6 as well. Generally played at F4 of, so if you're really crazy and blinging out your decks, this is like the card to get if you're playing black. But ultimately these are collector's cards, so I don't think that players are going to influence the price on this one too much. It's definitely more of a collector thing, but just something to keep in mind. Got quite a few verified listings, which is good to see. But yeah, definitely going up in price, and like I said with all the others, and I'm going to continue to say with just the manga rares in general, at this point these cards are probably just going up until we either get more product or something changes, the game dies. I don't know. At this point though, it looks like things are just going up from here. Eustace Kid, this one has not changed much. I think of the manga rares right now, this one has been the most stable. It did start a bit lower than this. You can see here, kind of closer to release, it was around $600. Jumped up to 7 or so, and then I want to say after that, it's been around 1,000, pretty stable there. Got 12 listings on it right now, and they are selling at this price point. But you do have to keep in mind that a lot of these aren't from sellers that are verified, but they do have pretty good feedback. They do have a decent number of sales, except for this one here, but they do have a decent number of sales. So I feel like with these ones, being that they are within the realm of the current pricing, these ones are probably safe to buy. They're not like suspiciously cheap in comparison to other listings, so probably safe on these ones. But as always, do just be wary when you're buying from sellers with either not a lot of sales, no sales, or not a lot of feedback, as sometimes those ones can be a scam. And while your money, I'm sure you'll get your money back, it can be a lengthy and obnoxious process, so you do want to avoid that if at all possible. But Kid here, currently the most stable one, but over time I expect it will go up as well, just like all the others. Law, again, this one's been more stable in comparison to the rest. Right now we're at $1,700. This one's been around $1,500, maybe a little less. Again, not selling quite at this price point yet, more around $1,500, little less, but we got 10 listings left. Everything from here is up. It's a popular character. Manga rares are just trending upwards. Wouldn't be surprised to see this one go up from here. It's just going to be a matter of time before someone decides to bite the bullet and buy the card at this current price point. And for Luffy, we're actually down a little bit. It was at about $5,000, but we're down a little from there. They weren't quite selling at that price point. Seems like 4,800 thereabout is what people are willing to pay, which is still absolutely mind-blowing to me, but it is what it is. Definitely, you know, going to be the most popular and sought after manga rare for sure, being that it's Luffy and all that. Not got a lot of listings either. They are from verified sellers, but you are going to have to, it is going to cost you an arm and a leg to pick this one up. So I'm hopeful, hopefully this one won't go up too much more than it is, but like we've been seeing, these manga cards, they're just going up and up and up. I This one seems like it's starting to settle down. This is like, people are not willing to pay much more than this for the Luffy, but I'm definitely curious to see where things go. But yeah, lastly, we got our Oda signed Luffy. It's up a bit, but not a lot in comparison to the others. And honestly, at this point, I'm a little surprised with how, I don't want to say cheap, because this is not a cheap card by any standards, but how much less this one is in comparison to some of the other cards. Seems like there aren't a lot of sales on this one either, relative to some of the others. Seem like people are not willing to pay the current price point for this one. Seems like they're willing to pay somewhere closer to $2,000, but I'm a little surprised with the fact that this one is like so much cheaper than, I mean, even Shanks at this point. Like, they're selling at 3K. I'm surprised that this is less than Shanks. But I don't know, maybe the manga cards are a lot cooler in my opinion, but I would still think this is a very sought after card. Obviously it is to some extent, but definitely not to the same extent as some of those mangas for more popular characters. That's it for our chase card discussion though. Big takeaway here is, if you want them, you might need to just buy them sooner rather than later, because at this point it doesn't look like things are coming back down. No signs of any reprints. And before anyone gets on my back saying that overprinting is bad, I'm not saying to overprint, but I do think there needs to be more product on store shelves for players to buy and collect. That's just it. We don't need to overprint, but there should be more product out there. All right, so on to OP01. Starting off with our leaders, just about everything has been bought out. And like I said, we are going to be looking at sets as a whole this week, because I feel like the majority of the market has been bought out at that point. So yeah, both Zoro and Law now right about $500. Law's been right around $400 for quite some time now, but with all these buyouts been happening, now he's $900. Zoro has actually made a bigger jump though, because this one I want to say was still less than $300 last week, and is now, you know, neck and neck with Law again. So I'm at a loss with these. Like, the buyouts are absurd. From what my understanding is, there have been some investing groups who have decided to really go all in on One Piece, and they've just started buying everything as much as they can. They're just buying everything. Up until now, it's generally been speculation on what's going to be good or what is good, and those are the cards that see the biggest increases in price. But right now, especially with the older sets, it's pretty much everything. So we got Luffy at $340, Doflamingo up at $300, and this one's not as much of a shock to me because it was already going up, and we do know we've got Warlord support on the horizon. So again, like I was saying, the speculation side of things, this one does not surprise me all that much that it's up at this price point. But then we've got cards like Blurple Kaido, who I guess last night we did get a leak for EBO1 that is a Animal Kingdom event for purple. So you know, I guess that's a form of support there, but this card was already up before that announcement. We are seeing some Blurple Croc support, but again, ultimately this is a result of just mass buyout happening, I think, from some of these investing communities. Odin and King now, even these two are well up over $100. King's actually more than Odin, which is a little surprising to me. I think Odin is a more popular character, and while neither of these leaders are all that playable right now, I definitely think Odin is more playable than King. But that just goes to show that this doesn't really have anything to do with viability in the game right now. This is purely, or I guess not, it's primarily the result of investors buying these cards out in an effort to inflate the prices even more than they already are, which is pretty serious problem in my opinion. So all these set one leaders pretty outrageously priced right now, but you know, they are set one leaders. There aren't as many of these out there as, you know, the following set, so it makes sense to a degree, but I definitely think this is a bit of an issue. And I know there are going to be some people in the comments who say, you know, these are luxury cards, they're alts, they should have, you know, pretty solid value. And I agree with that, but I don't know. I guess I don't think a single card, especially a card that's a 4 of in every case, should be worth so much more than like a box at market price. And I know this set is like out of print at this point, so they should be a little more than that, but like, you know, this is a cost of like 5 sealed boxes at MSRP. And I know there's some people who say MSRP isn't real anymore, but MSRP is like about $100. Packs are supposed to be $4.49 a pack, I do believe. So about $100 for a box. And now you've got leaders, which are like 1 in 3 boxes that are just absolutely outrageous. Like at this point, if you buy a box at MSRP, really for any set, and crack it, you're making money. And that's what I think is the problem. You shouldn't, you know, if you buy a box at MSRP, and I know that's not really something you can do right now, but if you were able to buy MSRP box, which you should be able to, but you can't, you shouldn't be able to make money on every box. But right now, if you could, you would. So I think that's an issue. But enough about that. Sealed boxes are up even more. We're at $570 now. I probably wouldn't buy set 1 boxes at this point. If you got them earlier and have been holding on them, great. I'd keep holding them, but personally, I don't think this is a good price to buy in if that's something you're looking to do. So on to the meat and potatoes of the market watch. Let's start actually diving into some main sets. So we already talked about Manga Shanks, but so we're going to ignore him for now. But we've got Nami here. Nami currently is at $400 right now. Now, previously, I want to say this one was around $300. You know, Nami's been an expensive card since release. I think even like on release, this was like a $200 card, and it's sat around $200 to $300 since release. But we are up at about $400 now, and they're selling. Not a lot of sales, but they are selling, which shows that people are willing to buy at this price point. So I would say it is unlikely at this point for this card to drop down in price. It is, of course, Nami, popular character, and this one for competitive players as well. It's a Straw Hat type searcher. Inevitably, we're going to get more Straw Hat type support in the future. This is going to be a very sought after card for both players and collectors. More so for collectors, but you know, I've got my playset of Nami, so I know the players are out there too. Yamato is not up a lot from last week. I want to say it was about 160 last week as far as where it was selling at, and about the same now, up a little bit, about $10 or so. Not a big change there though. Boa, this one's been going a little wild, and I think this one is largely due to the announcement that OP07 will have Warlord support and potentially even a leader for Boa Hancock as well. So I definitely think this one is hyped up a little bit for OP07. But in terms of from last week to this week, not a big change on this one. Zoro's had one of the bigger changes. This one was actually dropping down in price. It had, I think at its lowest point, it reached about $90. But since all the buyouts started happening, we are up at about $170 now. And people are buying at this price point. Again, not a lot of sales, but it goes to show that people are willing to buy at this price point. And because sales are happening, again, I'm going to say it's probably unlikely that this one's going to drop too much in price. Ultimately, if cards are selling at these prices, they're going to stay at these prices, because eventually someone's going to bite the bullet. I think there is a lot of FOMO in the game right now where something starts going up in price and people just panic and start buying it because they worry that it will go up more, which I definitely think is feeding the fire a little bit, but I also kind of understand why you're doing it, because if you look at where prices were several months ago, things do just keep going up from there. But I think once things start getting bought out, wait a little bit for them to settle down and then buy before they inevitably get bought out again and prices go to the moon. Mihawk here showing that the cheapest listing 70, been doing that for at least a week now. I'm not sure why. There is no listing that is at that price point. Really, we're looking at 140 bucks. They're selling at this price point. Don't expect things to come down too much from here. Again, this one could be that we are allegedly seeing Warlord support in set 7. So, I mean, if we get like a Warlord Searcher, this card just gets a whole lot better. I doubt we will. I feel like blue is primarily centered around like the stacking your top 5 rather than searching, but it's something I could see happening. Law also up quite a bit. We've seen a lot of support for supernovas in EBO1. We've got most of the set revealed at this point, so quite a few cards that look like they're going to be boosting red-green Law's viability. So we could see that one come back into the meta, and with that support, along with just all the buyouts in general, this is one that's gone up quite a bit. Again, they are selling at this point. They were selling a little higher though, and it looks like they are starting to drop back down. So maybe if you're patient, you can find some cheaper listings, but I wouldn't get your hopes too high on that. Probably sitting around $115 for the time being. Eustace Kid, this is one that's seeing a lot of hype in the current OPO6 format over in the East. So with all of the decks playing this card and seeing success, this is one that we've been seeing over the last week or so start to go up in price, and I think it's been pretty stable. 80, this one hasn't gone up too much more than that. And yeah, I think the really interesting stuff is what we're getting into now. So, you know, these cards, they've all been pretty expensive for the most part, and their changes, you know, while they are going up, have not been as significant as some of the others. So Doflamingo, to some extent, this one has been pretty expensive, but if we look back just, you know, not even a week, like this is a week ago, this is last week, they were at about 70 bucks, and now we're up at 100. Quite a few listings here, they're selling at this price. Shanks going up. If we look back even just about a week ago, this one was still about $40, $50. Got bought out, about $70 with shipping now. Okay, let's look at Sanji. Again, some of these cards are showing like weirdly low prices. $90. I remember suggesting you actually buy this one a couple weeks ago because it was like 30 some dollars, I want to say. Like it dipped below 40, and I'm like, it's a good 2K counter. It's a Straw Hat type. I think it is going to be a relevant card again someday. And you can see here, it went from 40 all the way up now to $90. Not selling at this price point though. We did have some sales here at about 70, but as you can see, just kind of a mass buyout on this one. Like this one, it was going down and then just out of nowhere got bought out. Not because it's seeing a lot of play right now, but the investors probably bought it out. I have no confirmation that the investors are actually doing this, but I have heard a lot of, you know, discourse in the community that there have been some new investing groups who are really going pretty hard into One Piece right now. We've got the Luffy card, gone up quite a bit as well. This one, there was a point a month or so ago where this one did get bought out and go up quite a bit, and then it dropped back down. But now we're seeing another buyout on this card, and there's 4 sales right there at $95. It's Luffy. I think this is really some incredible art, and honestly, I'm surprised that it's been as low as it has been up until this point. So I don't think this one will go back down much, but not a playable card, but it's Luffy, so kind of the pinnacle of collecting for the One Piece card game, I would say. Yamato, honestly, this one hasn't changed too much, and that's great. Don't think you should be buying this card. Kinemon up a little bit. And hey, there's that blue crocodile we talked about last week. You guys did go ahead and decide to buy this one out. It's been about 20 bucks for a long time now, and now it's up at 50 and it is selling. And this is where I think most of the buyouts are happening, is with those alts that haven't been very expensive, with those alts that have been sitting around $20, $15 for a long time. These investors have come through and bought everything. So for Crocodile, we're at $15 or $50. Ulti, we saw this one go up last week, about the same as it was. Kaido was $30 last week. We're up at $54 now. Someone came through and just bought all of them. On the 9th, it looks like is when the investors decided to really buy in. We got 4, 5, 7, just everything at that $30 price point was purchased. And now it's a $55 card. Will it sell at this price point? Well, it looks like the answer to that is yes, but we'll have to see where things go from here. King was like $17 last week. We can see it right here. On the 10th, there were still some pretty cheap listings, $15. Came through, bought them all, $70. And this is a trend we're going to see as we look through the next sets as well. Queen, this card's garbage. This card has never seen play. It's never going to see play, but it was a cheap ult, so they came through and bought them all. Same thing with Jack, though I think this one is definitely more playable than Queen. And then, you know, now we're kind of into our normal stuff. Rad beams are expensive, Otamas are expensive, Izos are up at $5 now, which is kind of crazy. And then even like your Momos are going up quite a bit. So from a player side of things, these are the more the ones you want to keep your eye on. You know, I think Momo could go up more from here if you don't have them. There are different arts for Izos, so we'll have to check the prices on those. But really, I think Bandai needs to do something or create some product that makes playing the game more accessible while still allowing the alts and whatnot to hold their value. But I don't think generic rarity cards like Katakuri and Borsellino should be $45, $50, $80, $90. That's outrageous. You know, there's a really strong competitive scene or even just casual scene for players in the game right now, and I think Bandai needs to play more into that in order for game to reach, you know, the potential that I think it has right now. In this Inarashi box topper, what happened here? Like, just all of these like alt arts are getting bought out. So that's it for OPO1. Let's go ahead and take a look now at OPO2. So with our leaders, your big ones haven't changed a whole lot, but like Ivankov, Kinemon, Z, these cards were what, like $50 last week, maybe less, and now everything's up over $100. People have come through and bought everything out. We do see that more listings are popping up though, because I think a lot of collectors and players are deciding, you know, it's not worth holding on to this card at, you know, this price point. Could also just be that everyone who bought them all is now relisting them, which is probably more likely, but I definitely think there's a good chunk of the community who is starting to feel that the money's worth more to them than the cards at this point. And I think things are probably just getting worse from here unless we see any form of reprint or more product out there. I think for these old sets, we're out of luck. I think for OPO5, we need to see more product. That one's just outrageous. But let's take a look at our sealed product. We're going up in price. We're approaching $400 pretty quickly on set 2 now. Not so long ago, I mean, we look back just October, end of October, early November, still around 200 for a box. Like here, back end of October, we were at 160 bucks. If you bought some boxes back then, you are sitting good right now, as they're now more than doubled in price. So good investment there if that's something you decided to do. I think for these set 1 and 2 boxes though, I would kind of steer clear. Maybe start investing in sealed 03 or 04. Those ones are still a little cheaper, and with the direction of the game, I think they'll definitely reach these price points at well over time. on to the main set. We already talked about Ace. So starting things off, we got Borsalino, been pretty stable around $100. And then we've got Kuzan, which is 90. Again, kind of been around $80, $90. I think it might be up a little bit. One of the ones that interests me a lot though is this Ace. Ace, Newgate still sees play in this set and in the next set, but I mean, this is almost doubled in price from where it was going. You know, during OPO4, it was around a $70 card, but once we got OPO5 released in legal, you know, it kind of settled down around 50, and now it's back up to $100. Ace is a popular character though, so probably a good one to invest in, but definitely a little surprised by this one. If there's some other reason why you guys think this one's going up in price, be sure to let me know down in the comments, but definitely a little surprised by how much this one's gone up in price, especially when you've got cards like Newgate going down in price. Like, why is Ace so much more than Newgate? I don't quite get that. You know, Newgate probably sees more play than Ace at this point. I mean, you got decks like Red Purple Luffy playing it. It's still played in decks like Newgate alongside Ace, but I would say this card has more representation in the metagame, and I would say it's still a very popular character. Ace is probably more popular, but I don't know. I think these two should be more similar in price. Got a lot of listings, and you know, is what it is. Film Nami going up quite a lot in price, up at $70 now, and I expect that as we get closer to the release of ST11, it will go up a little bit more. And then this one's going to drop back down, I think, a little bit, because really we've only got about a month of OPO5 where ST11 will be legal for tournament play. And then going into OPO6, the deck's still playable, but definitely not as playable as it's going to be for the remainder of the OPO5 format when we have that. So the film stuff kind of starts to fall off a little bit into OPO6. So I think this one, it's going to go up and then start to drop back down. But if you're really wanting to play a blinged out Uda deck, or you just want to have one of these for your collection, I would probably pick these up now, because over time I'm sure it will go up. It is Nami. It's a good card, playable card. Probably get more film support in the future as well. So this is a card that'll probably just keep going up in price just because it's a popular character and a archetype that's continued to get quite a bit of support. So probably buy it now, but I think if you do decide not to buy it now, wait until after the hype for ST11 dies down. Kuzan still about $50-$60, not a big change if any there. This is one of the biggest problem cards in my opinion right now. We've got a generic SR which is locked behind a $50 price tag, and for a game that is seeing so much hype around the competitive scene, player scene, these cards, some version of these cards need to be accessible to players in my opinion. I get that alts should have value and hold their value, and I think that is something that there was something I said last week that I think was misinterpreted. Yes, alts should have value, they should hold your value. I think we're getting a little bit outrageous at this point, but really my concern is with cards like this. And while there aren't many right now, really, like Borsalino and Katakuri are your big ones, as the game continues to grow, there are going to be more cards that reach these price points if Bandai does not address this issue. And that's where my concern's at. We've got one already. We've got an SR that's $50 right now. Black is looking to be the most dominant color in the upcoming format, very dominant in the current format. I wouldn't be surprised if this one goes up more, assuming the player base continues to grow. Luffy up a bit. This film Luffy is actually up quite a lot. I actually did pick up some copies last week, I think after I posted my video, for about $35, and now we're up at $60, and they're selling. Like we can see here, This is probably people who are looking to play that Film Uta deck on its release as they're buying 4 copies. But big increase there. Sadie's starting to calm down a little bit. We did see Magellan go up in price, and see, to me, this seems more appropriate in terms of pricing. I was really confused why, I get it's a 2K, but I felt like these two should be more similar in price, and they are now. Uta's up, Buggy's up, Marco's actually pretty stagnant. Odin's up. Again, we are seeing some, Land of Wano hype going into EBO1, so could be a factor, though I don't think this card will be especially good. Even once we get that EBO1 released. Puzon, pretty stable. And for the most part, everything else is pretty stable, though your Namis are starting to go up. And these are not included in the starter deck, which I think was kind of a blunder from Bandai when you've got almost the whole starter deck being film reprints. Why not just throw in a couple of the Nami? Doesn't really make any sense to me. And I know there's gonna be someone in the comments who says, well, it's already getting a reprint in that best set collection. That doesn't help, though. You had to pre-order that months in advance. The pre-orders are closed, and by the time that releases, this deck isn't relevant anymore. Why not just put some of these cards in the starter deck so that people who wanted to play, at least there was an entry-level semi-competitive deck that you could purchase? Because with the other starter decks, they're impossible to get, and some of those cards are currently the most expensive cards in the game right now. I see no reason why Bandai couldn't just put a couple of this Nami in the starter deck, seeing as the whole thing was reprints anyway for the most part. There was 6 new cards or something. It doesn't make any sense to me. And while cool, we're getting a reprint, quotations, it's not addressing the issue. It's more of a collector thing at that point, because you can't even pre-order that anymore. You had to pre-order that months ago. There are people who are getting into the game today. Maybe they're going to want to play this deck. Give them the opportunity to do that without spending an arm and a leg to get a generic SR. 20 is cheap relative to Porcelino, but it's still an issue. There's no reason to reprint cards like the rare Luffy, the Frankie, the Usopp. Those cards are commons, uncommons. No one cares. They're cheap. If you want those, you can pick them up. This would have been great to see in the starter deck. I don't know. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Moving on, everything else pretty normal. Mass Deuce has gone up quite a bit. This was a $5 SR. Not a big increase in price, but you can see there are only 8 listings now, which is pretty crazy. I think I saw a post from Cardi Kaizaku. I'm sure a lot of you who are more on the player side of things have seen his content. He had a listing for this card that's been up for months and months and months, and it finally sold because this card got bought out, which is pretty funny. Anyways, that is basically it for OPO2. No serious changes on these lower things. Like I said, though, those cheaper alts, they're getting bought out. They're going up a lot in price. Amino Koala is actually coming down a little bit. If you're looking to play Impel down, this could be something you want to pick up. We'll have to wait still a couple weeks yet to see if the EBO1 support does boost the relevance of some of these cards, but they should be getting that one released pretty soon in the East. So very excited to see how that impacts the format. On the OPO3, we've got our leaders. They're all up. Iceberg's a $40 or $85 leader now. Kind of crazy. Really pretty absurd that this one's more than Kuro, Big Mom. I mean, Big Mom, I think, is at least somewhat playable. Arlong's a pretty popular character, so I don't know. I don't know why Iceberg's more than all of these, but they're all up. Ace is nearly $200 now. Popular character, so not totally surprised with everything getting bought out. Katakuri's nearly 300, so seeing this one kind of move forward and take the lead again, because I do believe that Nami was actually a little higher than Katakuri last week. So if you're getting into the game and you're wanting to start collecting, prices are absurd right now, but for your more recent sets, I would definitely recommend picking up your leaders first if that's something you're looking to collect, just because over time the leaders in particular seem to hold and gain more value than a lot of other cards. For sealed product, we're at $230 right now, which isn't terrible. So like I said, if you're looking to start investing in sealed product, I feel like this might be a good set to do so, especially considering we're seeing a lot of these cards gain a lot of value, specifically the leaders. As the overall set value goes up, so will the sealed product. And I think we've had a pretty serious increase in overall set value, but we're not seeing as much of an increase on sealed product. So I'm not a sealed product investor, but if that's something you're into, could be a good opportunity to pick these up and hold, seeing as sets like OPO1 and OPO2 are up what, $400 or $500 for a box. Could be a good investing opportunity. But on to the main set, starting off with our Luffy being the most expensive non-manga card in the set. Not a big change here. So this is about the same as it was last week. So are the Katakuris. Though again, I'll say I think this card in particular, being that it is played in almost every yellow deck right now in some capacity, I'd say it's a 3 to a 4 of in most either Katakuri or NL decks. I don't think that the base rarity version of this card should be $85 with shipping. I don't think it should. Yellow, you know, if you want to play yellow and you're a new player, this is pretty daunting. There should be some version of this card that is accessible. I got some ideas I think that maybe Bandai could try and do to help mitigate these issues, but they probably won't. But I've got a little video I'm working on, and maybe Bandai is working on something, only time will tell. Wanted Kaido's actually coming down a little bit, but I think the purple Luffy deck is starting to lose some hype, which surprises me a little bit. It is definitely a high roller deck, but I do also think that it is one that has a lot of room to see success. I do think it even actually won the Eggman event, which happened yesterday at the time of this recording on the 13th. It was like I don't know how many boxes were. I want to say it was like a half case tournament for like 6 boxes, which was pretty cool. And I do think purple Luffy did end up winning that one. Wanted Kid is, you know, about the same as it was last week. This one is less than the regular alt though, which to me isn't totally surprising. I like the alt a lot more than the wanted, but for people who are looking to bling out those green fortress style decks in OPO6, this is an option for a, you know, max rarity version of the card. If you think the alt's a little too much, this is a little cheaper. I want to say this one is about the same as it was last week. For most part, not a lot of changes here. Khalifa, I think's gone up a little bit. Yeah, this one was about $20 a couple weeks ago. Now we're at $40. And we did see a new CP card event revealed in EBO1. Definitely planning to start doing some videos talking about reveals too. So if you're a player interested in hearing about some of these new cards, definitely look forward to that. I'm very excited to start talking about some of these new cards being revealed. But overall, set 3, no serious changes in terms of the buyouts, primarily with sets 1 and 2 that we're seeing like those mass buyouts. Cracker's coming down a little bit. Well, I guess that's got $5 shipping, so not really. I do think this one is going to start coming down though. It does see play in Yamato set 6 and a little bit still in Katakuri, but I think this one falls off a lot in terms of meta representation in OPO6. So if you're not looking to play yellow, might consider selling these now. I think they're gonna come back down, so something to keep in mind there. Kaku's going up, which is surprising, but I guess we did see some CP support. And then other than that, no serious changes with our low end stuff. Pretty stable here. I still think this Isho is one that could spike up in price at some point. I think it's a good card. It just hasn't seen the right deck or leader. I mean, eventually we're bound to see another black purple leader, and if we are able to like ramp into this pretty consistently, I think it could be a pretty powerful card and could go up quite a lot in price. So that's it for OPO3. Not as exciting of a set to talk about. We actually do have some more exciting stuff to talk about in OPO4 this week, as some of our leaders are going up quite a lot in price. Vivi is now $80. Nothing's below 20 anymore. I think this one's been sitting around 20 for quite a while, and now we're looking at about $50. So all of these leaders got bought out. Queen's still the cheapest one, which I get Queen's not a super popular character, but a little surprising to me because I think this is still a solid leader. Definitely not the best, but I think even going into OPO6, like, you can still find success with this deck. So kind of surprised that it's less than even Isho. So just something to point out there. On to our sealed product. Still not outrageously expensive, but it is quickly climbing up in price. So if you're looking to start investing in sealed product, this could be your set. I don't know. I'm not a sealed investor, but honestly, this is a little tempting to me. On to our main set. Already talked about manga. Boa, the SP, has actually exceeded the alternate art from set 1. So we already talked about set 1 cards, and I think we saw Boa was at about 150, 155-ish. SP is actually more, which is a little surprising to me. I like the OPO1 art a bit more, but we are, they're pretty close in price. And like I said, we are supposed to see some Warlord support in 07, so it could be a card that starts seeing more playability. And also just these, I think the SPs are kind of a big one that collectors want to get as well. So I think the big ones are like your mangas, your leaders, and then your SPs for sets that have those are like the biggest one. And then of course after that you've got your alternate arts. So Boa being the most expensive non-manga card from set 4, a little surprising to me, but waifu tax and all that. Law's getting up there, but this one is a bit less than the OPO1 alt, which to me makes sense. I like the OPO1 alt more than this, but definitely a hot one for collectors. Yamato's coming back down. I think we saw this one peak at about $90 last week, and now they're starting to dip back down. I'd keep your eye on this one if it's one you're looking to pick up. I do think it's just a very powerful card that will continue to see play. So whether you're a player or a collector, I think over time this one's going to go back up again. So keep your eye on this one, see if it gets any lower. But if it's one you're looking to pick up, I'd probably do it now as it's starting to drop that back down in price again, because NL is still looking to be a very powerful deck in OPO6. And last night we did get a lot of reveals for, I think there was EBO1. There's a lot of NL support, so definitely could see this card just continuing to climb up in price. Same thing with Sanji. It's a Straw Hat popular character. Very good card in yellow. Could see this one go back up as well. Same thing with Sabo. I think these are like, in terms of things that you might want to pick up, I think these are probably the big 3. Sabo is played at like 4 of in most of the black decks going into OPO6. I think Sakazuki is still running around 2, but your Moria and Black Yellow Luffy are running this in 5. So while it is up from where it was a couple weeks ago, I still think this one could be a good price to buy at, both for players and collectors. If you're a player, you're gonna want more than one copy of this one. So with 47 listings, I think it's pretty stable right now, but I wouldn't expect it to stay there forever. So I would highly recommend considering picking these up if they're cards you're looking to use or just add to your collection in the near future. Newgate's at about 50, Magellan's 50, and then surprisingly, this is more expensive than either of those two now. And I believe the reason for this is just that it was recently bought out. People are panicking, so they're buying it out this outrageous price. There's only 6 listings left. I expect this one will drop down to probably $40 would be my guess. No reason it should be more than either of these two. More popular character, or Newgate's a more popular character. Magellan's a more playable card. I feel like Sakazuki's not a popular character, but I mean, I guess he is like, you know, an antagonist, so got that going for him. But I think it really should be more in line with these. No reason it should be more than either of those two. So expect this one to drop back down. Just it was bought out recently. There aren't a lot of listings and people are panic buying. Doflamingo's up. Your Capone is going up still, and I don't know, this is one I can see going up more, as I think this is just kind of a staple 2K counter for yellow moving forward. VV alt is actually going up. If any of you are in my Discord, you probably saw some of our text exchanges where we're joking about buying out the Alabasta cards ourselves, because inevitably in OP like 27 we'll see some Alabasta support and maybe this card will be good. But you know, I don't think that this card will ever be good. It's too highly costed for what you're getting out of it. Maybe if we get some way to cheat it out early, like an event that can play it for a lower cost or something, but other than that, I don't think this card has ever seen play. All Sunday, not a lot of listings on this one. It is going up in price. That's $30, but it does have $5 shipping, so we are up from last week. We are seeing broke work support, so probably a result of that. But I do also think, if I recall, I saw a Ploofy deck that did well in some event that was actually running 4 copies of Miss All Sunday, which is pretty interesting. I don't think that's one that's been seeing play in those decks, but hey, it did show up there. And then we've got Luffy, who's at $30, going up. This one was around, I picked up one 2 weeks ago, I think, for 18, so going up quite a bit from there. Rosinante, pretty similar. Sugar's another one I would consider picking up at this point, as this one's been pretty stagnant in price. Not a lot of change up or down for this one, but it's a pretty solid card, and I have seen it popping up in some green decks in OP06. So I could see this one going up in price if those continue to see success. So I think this is one I would recommend picking up at this point, as I don't see it getting much lower than this. And it's only a matter of time before it starts to see success in some green decks again. So once that happens, I'm sure it'll see some hype and go up in price. But definitely think this might be a good one to pick up right now. Who's Who gone up in price for seemingly no reason. It is starting to come back down. Earlier, when I remember talking to my Discord like about the Alabasta stuff, we talked about this one too, because most of the searchers were going up in price, and this was at like $24 when we were talking about it. So it is coming back down, but I still don't think there's much of a reason to buy this one right now. Croc's coming back down. We saw this one get bought out, and then it's coming back down in price. Hopefully you weren't one of those people who bought this at like $25. You see there weren't a lot of sales, but a couple did happen. It's coming back down. If for some reason we do see a lot of either Lakers Croc or Blurple Croc start seeing competitive success, this is one we'll probably see going up in price. But until then, I don't think this is one you need to worry about. Heroes might also be a good pickup. Some of those cards from EV01 actually look like they could make Rebecca a pretty viable deck again. So having this one in your collection might not be a bad idea, only being $15. Quite a few listings on it as well. I think this one could be a solid pickup right now. Kaido, pretty stagnant. And then Shirahoshi, Diamante. Not a lot of change here. If you don't have your Sabos and you're looking to play a black deck in 06, pick these up now. Lots of listings right now. But I'm telling you, like we saw with some of the cards in 04 going into 05, I definitely think this one's going up in price. It's already gone up in price. But as we get closer to the release of OP06, this card is going to be a pretty important one for most of the decks in that format. I mean, if we're talking about decks that are seeing success in OP06, you've got Sakazuki, Moria, Perona, Black Yellow Luffy. I think all of those decks, except for maybe Perona, play this card to some extent. And those are like the big 4 decks right now. And then not a lot of other changes for the rest of the set. EV going up a little bit. Again, Sugars and Doflamingos, your regulars, might be good pickups if you don't have those. But other than that, nothing serious to talk about here. So let's go ahead and jump into OP05, starting off with our leaders. Corazon is now $60, so kind of wish I held on to mine a little bit longer. I did pull 3 of this one and only wanted to keep 1, of course, but actually more than Sabo right now. Not as much as Betty, but these 2 I could still see going up once we start seeing spoilers and leaks for the Revolutionary Army support in OP07 that we're supposed to be getting. So Corazon's kind of the biggest change. I think Sabo is not a big one, maybe a little more. Betty, kind of same deal. NL's gone up a little bit, which isn't surprising. We're seeing a lot of NL support in future sets, and it's still seeing a lot of success right now, so not surprising to me there. Luffy might be coming down a little bit, but I don't know. It's Luffy. It's going to hold its value, but it is going to drop off a lot in terms of playability going into OP06. For sealed product, OP05 is at $300 right now. This is a problem. When your most recent set can't be picked up for anywhere near MSRP, like this is 3 times MSRP we're looking at right now. They're buying, people want the product, but this is an issue, and it doesn't look like things are going to be getting better for future sets anytime soon. I don't know. Bandai needs to do something, and I'm sure that again there are people who are going to tell me I'm wrong, the game's healthy. This is not healthy. This is not healthy. Having cards like Porcelino be $50 is not healthy. I get that, you know, people who collect their cards, you know, they want them to hold your value. I get that, especially your alt arts. They should. But that doesn't mean that this isn't a problem or that the market is healthy right now. Your cards should hold their value. They should have value. But this is not healthy. I think cards have too much value right now. And that, you know, product needs to be more accessible. Like I said, I have some ideas and things that I want to talk about in a future video. So I'm going to move on. But SPs, they've gone nuts. Nami, $340 now. Not quite selling at this price point, but I'm gonna say it's probably just a matter of time before someone decides to buy and it goes up in price. Kind of same thing with all these SPs. I am so glad I picked up all of mine very early for my collection. I just wanted 1 of each. I got my NL for $50 a week or 2 after release. It's $200 almost. Uta, same thing. I got mine for like $50. Absolutely absurd. And again, this is just largely due to just how big the player collector like how big the community for this game is right now relative to how much product is out there. So our Monkey D. Luffy has also seen a huge jump in price. I want to say last week it was about $50, and now it's doubled. It's $100, and I'm not totally surprised. I was kind of surprised that it was going down because, you know, it's Gear 5 Luffy, you know, especially with seeing how crazy the manga's been. I was surprised that this one was going down, but that has seemingly corrected itself. We're up at $60 or $100 now. As you can see, all of the SPs, not just kind of your most expensive ones, have gone up quite a lot in price. Lucci's actually more than Kaido right now. Rebecca's pretty stable. This one has sat around $60 and it's staying there. But one thing I do want to point out is if you look here, there are only 15 listings left. It might just be a matter of time before someone comes and buy those. And we see this become like a $75, $80 card. Lucci's going up a little bit as well. I think last week this one had like 40 listings. We're down to 21. If you want to play black, pick these up now. This one's going to go up. It sees play as a 4 of in Sakazuki, 3 to a 4 of in Moria. Like, it just sees a lot of play in these black decks, and it's looking like Moria and Sakazuki are still like the two biggest threats in the OP06 format. Given that those cards both play this card, I think it's one that's going to go up. And with only 21 listings left, I'd say it's only a matter of time before we see the first spike in price. This is one, not a lot of listings left either on this one. Down to 26. I think this one's going to fall off though. I think this is one where it is going to go down in price just because it sees almost no play, or at least success, in the OP06 format. Baby 5 still up there. Revolutionary stuff seeing some hype. Kaido's coming down. I think this one peaked when it got bought out. It was like $55, $60, but it's coming down. Alti's up a little bit. Borsalino pretty stagnant. Could see this one going up too though, as it does see more play next set than it does this set. I think usually I'm seeing the Sakazuki decks running 2. Next set, I'm seeing decks run 3 to 4, so could see this one go up a little bit. And I always see our yellow cards are going up a lot. Gadatsu's one I pointed out last week sees play at 4 in most yellow decks in set 6. Not surprising to see this one go up in price. And then NL, with all the NL support we're seeing, this one got bought out last night as well. This was about $20, same as Gadatsu, and now we're looking at $50. I think this one's a little inflated right now. Doesn't really see any play in set 6, but with the support we're seeing in EBO1, I could see it coming back after the release of EBO1. And then, like I said, Gadatsu just sees a lot of play in the yellow decks. Yellow's still very strong color. Definitely not seeing as much success as the black decks right now, but definitely still a contender for decks that are going to be seeing a lot of play next set. Every deck I've looked at is running for Gadatsu. Katakuri, NL, doesn't matter, they're playing for Gadatsu. Not surprised to see this one go up in price. Hopefully you picked them up last week. So like I said, I was a little surprised that it was still as low as it was, given that it sees a lot of play in the future sets. Not a lot of change here. Law is starting to climb back up, and this is one that I might also recommend picking up right now while it's still $20 or so, because I think while Red Purple Law has not been seeing success this format, it sees more success next format. And while it's still not as good as a lot of the other decks in the format, I think it does have a lot more room to see and find success in the OP06 format. Get some new support. Well, it gets some new cards that do kind of support what the deck is trying to do. Give it some card draw. Gordon effect becomes more accessible. So see a lot of stuff that helps the deck in OP06. And I think it's pretty popular deck, popular character. I can see this one going up. Red Purple Law might be a deck you want to look into playing in set 6. And if that's the case and you want to bling out your deck, this is a good pickup. And if you're just a collector, I'd recommend picking this one up now, because I don't think it's going to stay at this price forever. Other than that, not any big changes here. I still think this Lucci is one you're going to want to keep your eye on. Pick these up if you haven't done so already. As we get closer to set 6, they're going to go back up in price, I think. It sees, like I said, with the alt, it sees a lot of play in Gecko Moria and Sakazuki. It's only $3 right now. I definitely think it's going to go up in price as we get closer to the release of a new set. All right, that's it for OP05. And like I said, I hope you guys still enjoy the video. I know I've kind of taken a different direction with this one, purely because there have been a lot of changes. Next week, I plan to go to the more normal style and talk about the cards that I really think are worth talking about. But let's jump into our promos. Your Dawn cards. Some of them are starting to calm down, but still very expensive for your Dawn. The gold Dawn is actually going up in price. And I think this is because we're not sure if these are going to be given out during the next wave of regionals in 2024. I don't think we have confirmation whether that is an absolute no or whether they're coming back. Up until now, they've been given out for participation in every regional, both online and offline. But I think people are worried that they're not going to be giving those out, and so the people who want these are buying them up now. So if they're not going to be giving out as participation in the next wave of regionals, I can see these going up even more. But if they do, they'll probably come back down. So just something I wanted to point out there. Promos. Newgate's finally got a listing on here. It's at $2,000, which is, not surprising to me. The winner, super pre-release winner, is coming back up. Did this start getting bought? They did. We did have a listing for this one sell at $1,800. Now the cheapest one's $3,000. Borsalino. It's selling at $900, which makes me feel kind of terrible because I did sell 2 of these for about $400 a piece. So that they're selling for more than double that now does hurt a little bit, but hey, it is what it is. Hindsight's 2020. The store championship, Luffy is going up. 5 listings left. So it's probably a matter of time before this one, is kind of in the same state as this one, the first anniversary one. Joe's just going up. I know this really because my friend is looking to complete his play set of this one, and they were like 180, maybe a little less, and now they're 250. So a little unfortunate there for my friend. The treasure or the 3-on-3 chopper got bought out. It's now more than the Usopp, which is pretty funny to me. I mean, obviously more playable card. I think the art on this one's better too, but this one was harder to get than the chopper, so kind of funny that it's double the price of that one. Yeah, promo stuff, no serious changes really. Quickly looking through here, yeah, nothing serious. I guess we go to like our winter cards. The Mihawk, the Izo are starting to go up a little bit. This Luffy popped off again. This is one we've talked about a couple times on the channel. It pops off, calms down, and it pops off again. So these like set volume 1 winter cards have popped off a little bit. For some reason, Croc popped off and is more than Kaido. Don't buy this one right now. Kaido's still cheaper end for volume 1 tournament pack. Other than that, no big changes. Judge stuff, about the same as has been, but Helmeppo's going up. And sealed battle stuff is still outrageous. And again, I feel like when I talk about these, people say, well, they're getting reprints with the live action. But again, pre-orders for that are closed. People who are getting into the game now can't purchase those. But I do think that once those do release, it is going to help a lot in terms of the people who just want these cards to play. But for the people who want these for their collections, it's not going to solve any problems. Hopefully there's another event where these sealed battle volume 1s are given out, but I would be surprised if that's the case. Gift collection stuff, it's about the same as it has been. Not a lot of listings on many of them though, so keep that in mind. Pre-release stuff, nothing serious worth talking about. Kind of getting tired of even looking at these at this point. But I'll keep my eye out for any changes. The Robin's expensive. Starter decks, nothing serious changes, same problem as before. Your starter deck 4, starter deck 6, starter deck 7 in particular are too expensive. These decks should be accessible, especially when you've got cards that are seeing a lot of competitive play, like your Hina, your Houndblaze, your Queen. Though I do think Queens are going to start falling off now as we get towards the end of our OP05 format. Only thing really worth pointing out is this Katakuri's climbing in price. This has been seeing more play. I don't think it's especially good, but it is just something to keep in mind. People are trying this card out. It did, I believe, Artreus TCG is another channel. I'm not sure I pronounced that right, but I think he got second in the Eggman half case tournament yesterday, and he did have 2 copies of this card in his NL deck. So maybe there's something there, maybe not. Just something worth pointing out. I actually did get through this video a little quicker than some of my previous ones, so let me know what you think down in the comments below. Did I talk any faster? Was about the same? Like I said, I don't want to do this format moving forward because to me it feels lazy. I want to talk about the cards I think are worth talking about, but there was just too many cards to pull up and talk about today. Like, I was trying to do it, I had like a million tabs open, which wasn't great, so I decided to just talk about the sets as a whole. Ultimately, I think that with the growth the game's seeing, we need to start seeing more product get out there. Maybe some products specifically geared at just putting more of these playable cards out into the market, even if they're like non-holo, like so that you can differentiate them from the main set ones. We just need to do something to get these cards out there and allow players to play the game without affecting the cards of your alternate arts too much. But really, I don't think like your main set, just generic SRs that aren't alts, should be as expensive as they are right now. Really, I think those cards should be just like a couple bucks each, and then your alt arts and whatnot are where the value should be at. But I definitely think even alt arts, the prices are much higher than they should be. And I know there's some people who are gonna complain or argue with me on that in the comments below. They want their cards to hold value, and I get that. But there comes a point, I think, when there's an issue, because if you can find, like I said, if you can find product at a reasonable price, it's like you basically can't lose money if you open it at this point. Like for your set 5 stuff, with just how much the alts are, like it's getting a little crazy, I think. But maybe it's just me. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. So like I said, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know we did things a little different than normal today, and I hope you can bear with me for this one, but just a lot to talk about. Let's try and get this video to 200 likes. Let me know what you think about the market down below. I know there's probably going to be some people who argue with me, but I feel like last week we had a pretty good discussion down in the comments section. So curious to see what you all think this week. So like I said, everything's getting bought out. I think this is an issue. Hopefully Bandai does something to address it, but we're going to end the video here. Thank you again for watching the video. As always, if you're enjoying the content, please do consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you want to see more content like this in the future. We'll be back to our normal market watch next week. We'll just be talking about the cards that I think are worth talking about. So hope you can bear with me through this week, but that's going to be it. Thank you again for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.